Well, this is it, the end of September, and also the end of Once Upon a September. So, it's time to do my wrap-up video. Now, if you guys have seen my TBR video, you know that I had 14 books selected that I was going to read this month. So, let's tally up and see how many I managed to finish. First, I finished Rump by Liesl Shirtliff, which was a really fun story, and you can find the link to the review in the box below. Next up was A Tale Dark and Grim by Adam Gidwitz. This was also an interesting and fun story, and you can find the review for this in the box below. Number 3 was Fairest of All by Serena Valentino. This was a good book, but it rated low because I had some issues with it and the way that it ended. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can see the review linked below. It's a double review with book number 4, Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This book was excellent. I really loved this book, and it got 5 stars. Probably one of the most clever and bizarre retellings I've ever heard of, and it was excellently done. So, like I said, I did a review of this, along with Fairest of All, in one convenient video. 5, The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer, and I also reviewed this book, and the link is in the box below. And that's all. So of my list of 14, I only managed to finish 5. I did tell you guys in my TBR that I was being overly optimistic. I have started Beauty by Robin McKinley, and unfortunately I'm having a really hard time getting through it, so I'm not sure that I will finish it, but that's 5.5. So maybe next time I ought to choose the number of books a little more wisely, or at the very least more realistically. I'll have to remember that next month when I do my Sherlock theme. And let me tell you, you do not want to miss Sherlocktober. I was gonna do this really dramatic costume change right there, but I realized that I have no Sherlock type props in my possession at all. Apparently props are something I need to invest in. About the only thing I have is this awesome Sherlock t-shirt. There's also the skull, which I will now begin conversing with. For me, October has always been about mysteries and murder most foul, because my old library holds an annual mystery fest called the Dark and Stormy Night, and it was always super awesome. I decided to focus solely on Sherlock Holmes because I haven't read nearly enough of this. Throughout the month, I will continue reading the original Conan Doyle stories. It's something I've been working on for a while, trying to get through all of the originals. I am almost finished with the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and I'm going to try my best to be at least finished with the memoirs by the end of the month, because the final story is the final problem, and I am dying to be introduced to the original literary Moriarty. I'm also reading the anthology Study in Sherlock, which is quite entertaining. Basically, the only prerequisite is that the story has to be based in Sherlock lore, and some of these stories are very creative. My favorite so far is The Men with Twisted Lips. Also on the reading list is The Eye of the Crow by Shane Peacock, book 1 in the Boy Sherlock Holmes series, as well as Dust and Shadow by Lindsay Fay. I cannot resist perusing Sherlock Holmes for Dummies, which I hope will be quite an interesting and informative read. Plus, the author is Stephen Doyle, and I really want to know if he's related. I just might get to Professor Moriarty, the Hound of the Dubervilles by Ken Newman, but it might be a good idea to wait on that one until I've at least read The Hound of the Baskervilles. You kind of want to read the original before you grab a parody. And to finish it off, I am also listening to the audiobook Death Cloud, book 1 of the Young Sherlock Holmes series by Andy Lane. I think this is a little more realistic to my reading habits than Once Upon a September was. Hopefully, I will even get through them all. A quick note to my viewers. I am making some slight changes to my channel. In the past, I have been doing one book review video every Wednesday, plus the odd discussion video and book-to-movie comparison when I can manage it. Unfortunately, this isn't really working out for me anymore. It takes up a lot more time than I currently can spare, and so I am going to cut down a little. But not to worry. My solution is simple. I will continue to post a video every Wednesday, TBRs and wrap-ups not included, but they won't always be reviews. I'm hoping this will not only lighten my load, but also broaden the kinds of videos that I post, like the one I'm planning for Wednesday. I will continue to write reviews, and any that don't make it into a video will likely be featured on my blog, and I will link those in my wrap-up videos at the end of every month. So, Some slight changes, but I really think it's for the best, and hopefully everybody's gonna love it. So, let's jump right into Sherlocktober! Tell me about your favorite original Sherlock story or adaptation, whether it be book or film, or even tell me your favorite character. Let's get one thing straight. Sherlock is awesome, but I've always really liked Watson because he's an awesome sidekick and a writer. But I have to say, the new movies and BBC's Sherlock are really making me like Lestrade. To subscribe, click on the skull. You know, I thought this guy had a name in the show, but apparently he really doesn't. He's just known as Sherlock's Skull, which can be a little misleading if you don't know what's going on. This particular skull actually does have a name. He's on loan from my sister, and he's called, what else? Skullduggery. I really like to drive her crazy by calling him Doug.